Hello, everybody. Happy to be here with you. Friday? No, Thursday, August 6th for the fourth TransBIORegional Coordination Circle call that Marcus Petz in Finland and myself, Emmanuelle with StoryMoss in New York City, have volunteered to facilitate. So we came up with the idea of bringing what we think could be or is an amazing toolkit for bioregions to connect and work together and know each other. And it's the offers and needs market that's very old, but that the Post-Growth Institute has taken back and sharing with others now. So the idea was one volunteered thought, okay, we're going to each bring our bioregion. So I'm personally weaving with Barlavento and the African Peace Village, so southwest of Portugal. Marcus is weaving with more.
I'm weaving with several places. I'm weaving here in Finland, and I'm also weaving in England, particularly with Mercia, which is the Midlands. And I've been weaving a little bit in East Africa. And I think we'll hand over to Danny. It looks like we've lost Emmanuelle.
Yeah, thanks, Marcus. And hopefully Emmanuelle is able to reconnect there. It's great to see you all here. Thank you to Emmanuelle and Marcus for inviting me. And I'm excited to share about the Offers and Needs Market. And I'm hoping that we can also spend a bit of time doing a little bit of interactive kind of participatory experimenting or getting a taste of the Offers and Needs Market as well. Just not me just yapping at you the whole time. And actually, to align with that idea, I'd actually love to invite folks to join in a little opening grounding. So this is a way that we really like to start our calls together, whether that's internal meetings or events that we host at the Post-Growth Institute, which is the group that I'm here to represent. Also, I'll just say a few words of introduction to myself before I invite you all to join a grounding with me. I'm calling in from the Cascadia bioregion here in Southern Oregon. I'm on the lands of the Shasta, Tacoma, Lagawa peoples. I grew up, born and raised here, and the Post-Growth Institute has been my kind of organizing home and family for the last 6 years. So the Offers and Needs Market being one of our programs, and there's a familiar face here who is amongst our fellowship community. The Post-Growth Institute's fellowship is another space that I've had the privilege to be a part of, and Konkanko is here as well, who is familiar with the fellows, and so maybe we'll get a chance to chat about that more. But for the time being, I want to invite everyone to join me in just a chance to arrive into the space and to maybe presence as well. This is a call where we're all coming and representing a bioregion that we have some relationship to. So I'm just going to invite you to pause and maybe even turn your camera off, take a break from the screen. Maybe you've been on your computer for a while or your device, and it's just, this is a chance to just connect with yourself and the earth that's holding you and us. And maybe it feels good to turn your camera off. Maybe it feels good to close your eyes. Maybe it feels good to get up out of your seat, whatever feels helpful for you to be able to connect with your body and your breath as well. I'll invite this as a chance to just drop into your body, and maybe you'd like to take a nice deep breath to start. Just feeling that oxygen filling your lungs and feeling your feet on the floor or your seat beneath you, wherever you're making contact with the earth, the land that's connecting us all across distances, and it's always there holding us. And just feeling that connection to yourself, your breath, the earth for a moment. maybe you'd like to also acknowledge for a moment the place where you are currently. Maybe it's not the same as the bioregion, the geography that you've come to represent or that you call home. Maybe you're in a different place, just acknowledging the place wherever you are right now in this moment. And just noticing how you're feeling in the space today, how you're showing up. Just taking note of how your physical, energetic, emotional, mental being is feeling in this moment. Knowing that you're welcome as you are, and just presencing that place that you're connected to in this moment, or that place, the lands that you are stewarding, connecting to, building relationship with, tending relationship with. And I'll invite you to come back into the room whenever you feel ready, taking your time, bringing that presence in with us as we go through this call together today. Because so much of this is connected to our own relationship with our own bodies and our relationship with place and with the land. So thank you for joining me in that grounding. And I want to invite throughout today, if you have questions, things you'd like to chime in with as I'm speaking, one method we like to use at the Post-Growth Institute is this kind of letter system in the chat. So you could put a Y in the chat if you have anything you want to share. We can make this even more complicated and say Q for question and C for comment. This is just a nice way to create a little bit of a discussion stack as we go. So I'll leave some space for questions at the end after I'm done speaking. But if you have something come up in the middle of me speaking, you can always put a letter in the chat and I'll make note of that so that maybe if there's space, I can actually invite you just to come in the midst of whatever I'm sharing. And like I said, I'd love for this to be kind of interactive, participatory a little bit. So that's my intention. And yeah, I do have a slide deck I'll share that I can also share the link to in the chat. And yeah, I'm actually inclined to start by doing a little exercise that we often use at the beginning of an offers and needs market, where we're coming together for anywhere between 90 minutes to 2 hours for something called the offers and needs market, with which maybe some of you have experienced, but I'm not sure. So I'd actually love if you're able to come on camera. This is a way that we kind of temperature check in the room, like how familiar is this practice actually for folks? So if you know what the offers and needs market is, maybe you've experienced it before, you can actually spread your arms out. And then for those who, I don't know what that is, I've never done this before, what's an offers and needs market? You can put your hands on your cheeks and then we can get like a visual of like who's familiar or not. And it might be like somewhere in the middle, right? Like maybe you know what it is, but you've never experienced one before. Or maybe you have done this before and you can spread your arms out wide like this. So this is just our little measurement. And it looks like for the most part, people are not, it's new for most people here. So that's good to know. And I am also hoping that this can be a chance to plant a little seed around the offers and needs market being something we can, as a TransBIORegional network, come together to experience the fullness of at some point in hopefully the not too distant future. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how we go. Maybe there'll be enough excitement about this to make that happen. And as I mentioned, I'm here representing the Post-Growth Institute, which is basically just we are a international organization. At the moment, our team is across 18 countries, I believe. And the Offers and Needs Market kind of similarly as one of our programs, one of the things that's been developed over the lifespan of the PGI, which is about 15 years now, I think. Um, it's also a global practice. So the community of practice that we have in terms of the facilitators of this process is worldwide, and we have a beautiful community of practice of folks of all varieties. So I think about 418 or so people have come through our facilitator training so far, and we also have a network of certified facilitators. So that's kind of the context as well, is like there's folks who use this practice and maybe have never even met any of us at the Post-Growth Institute. It's because it's a practice that's really kind of universal and inherent to us as humans. Um, just this practice of reciprocity and coming together to exchange. So, the Post-Growth Institute doesn't claim that this is some kind of IP that we've developed, although we have spent a lot of time refining and practicing really thoughtful and effective ways to facilitate people being able to come together to connect in a lot of different contexts. So, whether it's at a conference or in a neighborhood or in a trans-bioregional network, whether it's virtual or in person, there's so many different settings that this practice can be used within. And there's also, it's very adaptive. So typically it's a 2-hour event. It can be adapted to be shorter. If you're doing it with just a handful of folks in your neighborhood, it might look different, a little bit more relaxed than, for example, if you have a conference of like 50 to 100 people coming together in an event. There's quite a bit of structure that can be held to make it as effective as possible for people to not only connect and share their offers and needs, but then to database and create a strong um, kind of repository of those offers and needs to be able to help with networking post-event so that folks can really connect with each other and follow through on the offers and needs that might get shared. So it's really designed to identify and exchange passions, knowledge, skills, resources, opportunities, and needs. Some people have, called it the offers and requests market. And this is maybe a moment to say too, I was excited to see in the BioFi high-low group, there's like a page for requests and offers. So oftentimes this language can get adapted or the idea of exchanging offers and needs can happen without necessarily the offers and needs market structure that the Post-Growth Institute has developed. But I'm really excited to be able to bring this practice of the offers and needs market as we've really shaped it over the years into more spaces, because I've found that, and we have found that it's really powerful for connecting people. And it's a whole experience that is actually quite hard to describe to people. So I actually tend to say, don't let me yammer about it. Like, just come to an event, come to an offers and needs market, because that is what will really show you what this is all about and what makes it so powerful. It's an experiential thing. So given that nature of it being experiential, and like I said, I wanted to make this a bit more participatory, I actually would love to invite you into a bit of a reflection. And before I do, I'll just quickly answer your question, Marcus. I think there's been offers and needs markets to our knowledge. So the other thing is that the Post-Growth Institute, we invite and request for facilitators to like share with us like that they're doing those events, that the offers and needs market is active in their communities, and we love to hear from people and get stories and photos and things. But oftentimes, like we don't even know that things are happening. So according to our knowledge, there's at least 50 countries that have seen the offers and needs market be held in those places. And so I won't try to list off 50 countries, but I mean, I'm here in the US. We have team members in Scotland. Just the Offers and Needs Market team at the Post Growth Institute is myself and at the moment four others. And so there's three of us in the US and one in Scotland, one in the UK who's originally from Turkey. And then, like, in terms of our closest kind of people in the community of practice, like our certified facilitators are in Iceland and um, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but I mean, truly, it's a global spread. So the likelihood that, if one of you were interested in the offers and needs market and hiring a facilitator, for example, the likelihood that I could then go into our database and find someone in your area is actually quite high. Like there's a lot of folks spread out across the world. So let me pull this back up and what I'm going to invite is for folks to actually reflect specifically on your bioregion or an organization that you're organizing with or a group, a project, something that feels connected to this network that has convened us here. Um, and also yourself, like you are a human, you have your own skills, your own passions, um, your own needs, your own, things that you want to be able to achieve that you couldn't achieve by yourself, right? Um, and so this is just a chance to like reflect on if we did have a whole 2 hours or even an hour together right now, to exchange offers and needs or to voice them, to make them visible to each other as part of this network, like what might you share? Um, Maybe there's already something that you've shared with this network that you want to uplift again to new folks that haven't already heard it. Um, and this is again just a reflection exercise at the moment, but you could also put it in the chat. Maybe you have something that you have to offer, whether that's like a professional service that you feel like could be supportive to others in this network, or something that you just are passionate about. Like, I really love talking about sociocracy or about soil, building soil, or water systems, or whatever it might be that you're into. Maybe it's philosophy. Um, Sometimes the offer is just sharing sharing something that you're passionate about. Emmanuelle's got a hand up.
Oh yeah, thank you, Danny. It's great so far. For me, what excites me about the offers and needs market and the practice is that it really reminds me, and you say sociocracy and pro-social of games and playfulness that we had when we were kids, where if one of us had something that we didn't have, it was okay because at least this person would bring it, and maybe we had something else, food or toys or access to TVs or shows, So the idea of like being close to one another again, I think is really attracting me and feeling like instead of like owning and material, this is mine, yes, you can have it, to just think about the larger picture and making sure that everybody is fine. Because we have, the idea of abundance, we have what we need. We just need to learn how to share it and tell people that it's okay. So thank you for being here today.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, Emmanuel, because I was chatting with someone who is familiar with the offers and needs market, has been in spaces and maybe even facilitated. Um, well, also the asset-based community development framework. We were talking about that as well because that was something that inspired the offers and needs market. And we were talking about like a gateway drug to the solidarity economy, like having this really meaningful experience of like, wait, hold on, like we can think about our possessions differently. We can think about our needs differently. We can actually be more of like an organism together versus like these kind of hyper individualistic people who are like, so I could rant about that quite a while, but I'll pass it to Marcus to see what he has to.
Okay, I'm going to try and do what you've actually asked us to do. So I'm going to give two things. First of all, I'm going to give a personal example. So I have a need to have an institutional email address because I put all my papers and publications on ResearchGate, and they require you to be affiliated to an institute. My university has just told me, as it's 2 years since I got my doctorate, I can no longer use that email address. So I have that need, and I don't know how I can fulfill it. I need someone with an institution, basically. Yes, a job would be nice, but the institutional email address. And then the offer that I give is I'm an editor for the International Journal of Community Currency Research, but partly I got that because I do proofreading. So I'm able to do proofreading for people, maybe bits of copy editing. So that's my offers and needs from a personal point of view. And then if I start to talk about organizational, if I think about this Mercia Rising group that exists in the Midlands, they're quite new as a group. They've come from some other groups and other people, and they struggle with some basic things. So, for example, they don't have a bank account yet. So they have a real need to be able to have a bank account to receive money and to do things with it. They try to see if they can get a free one, and they haven't quite managed to do that yet. So that's a need that's there. And the offer is they want to organise a skill sharing day. So they haven't worked out exactly, I'm part of it, but we haven't worked out exactly how we're going to do that. But our thinking was that we would do it as a kind of harvest festival, and we would do it with intergenerational learning, with grandparents sharing with perhaps children at a school or in a church. So that's the kind of offer side, is to organize something. And there's some discussion about whether we do that online, whether we do it in person, how we do the two together. So that's some offers and needs.
Yeah, I so appreciate you naming those offers and needs into the space, Marcus. That was a beautiful example of like personal offers and needs, organizational offers and needs, or being able to represent others, speak on behalf of others. Um, and then, for example, if we were in an offers and needs market right now, um, let's say Marcus and I are in a breakout room together because it's a larger group and we're looking to make space for everyone to be able to speak out loud without being here for hours and hours. And then we come back together and we go into our database, which would basically just be a spreadsheet typically if we're meeting virtually, where Marcus, then you could put those offers and needs that you just named out loud into a database where then it could get revisited. You could share relevant details, more information, um, and folks could reach out to you. You could share your contact info. And so, like, I could imagine that maybe Hilo could host these sorts of things as well. There's maybe other methods of creating that kind of a database or repository of offers and needs, but because our brains can hold only so much, and so that's what we use these databases for, to be able to then follow up afterwards and actually connect with each other and be able to get in touch. So, you know, I'm speaking theoretically about something that, again, I'd love for us to just be able to experience together at some point. And I mean, but I'm gonna pull up this reflection prompt and then maybe we can even just take 3 minutes, 2 minutes or 3 minutes to not only reflect on this prompt, but share something in the chat with the group today. Maybe it's like a half-formed thought. Um, and maybe there's like details that you want to put to the things that you just shared, Marcus, for example. So like one of the beautiful things about the offers and needs market is that it isn't exclusively gifting or bartering. It could also be, I have this professional service that I offer, and the rate is this. I charge 150 an hour for consulting, but it's sliding scale and we can negotiate, or something like that. So it's very open in that sense. Um, so maybe an offer that you have is like also a need, and that's the beautiful thing. It's like, oh, I actually am looking for clients, but I have this offer of like this professional service, this skill that I have. And that sets the offers and needs market apart in a particular way where it's unique in that sense. It's very inviting of any kind of offer or need. Um, you might have a budget, for example, for a need that you have. Like, I'm willing to hire someone, or I'm willing to spend this much to find the thing that I'm looking for. But like I said, I'd actually be very keen to just leave a little bit of space to take like a minute or two in silence for folks to share an offer or a need into the chat. And again, it can be on behalf of your own self or a group that you're representing. And the prompt is just what is one offer or need that you're drawn to share with the group today? So I'll just give that until the 32-minute mark and see what gets shared. And I've already seen a couple come into the chat, so we'll just give that another minute or so. And thanks, Michael, for the comment there. Also inviting people to just share thoughts. It doesn't have to be an offer or a need, but encouraging that activity in the chat. And I'm just going to give that like 30 more seconds in case there's any other offers and needs that want to be shared there. Maybe you're typing. Beautiful. And I'm actually going to model one more thing here in terms of our practice at the PGI and also as offers and needs market facilitators. I might go, would anyone like more time in silence to finish typing up their offer and need or reflect more or read what people are sharing? And then just put a Y in the chat if so. You can just drop a letter Y into the chat and let me know that you're still reading or typing. And this is a Emmanuelle.
But Danny, I
Do you want
also think, personally, I don't read the chat after when I watch the recording. So if people, I mean, we
Oh
can,
yeah.
people want to,
Mm-hmm.
Michael, like if you want to talk about what you wrote in the chat so that when people are watching the recording, I think it could be interesting too. Or David.
And yeah, and actually I will invite like a little verbal round here in a moment too, because like you said, Emmanuel, that way that it gets captured on the recording and such. Um, and yeah, I just wanted to mention too that one of the interesting things about the offers and needs market is that it's a different kind of dynamic of a space because what I find we're quite used to is a lot of talking. And then sometimes people find it kind of strange to come into an offers and needs market. And we actually spend a decent amount of time in silence together, which is just different, right? Because there's this rhythm, this cadence of reflection and then sharing. And then time where we're spending like, we're essentially recording things into written form as well. So, but it's important, I think, to have these different modalities of connecting because for some of us, being able to speak it out and hear it um, is important, and then for others, having a written kind of documentation is really helpful also. So I just wanted to mention that. But given the things that have been shared in the chat, maybe I'll just actually go down the line and call on folks in the order that I see things in the chat, and folks can just briefly speak out some of what's been shared. So I think Konkanko was the first to drop something in about African Peace Village, and maybe as well, Konkanko, if you want to speak briefly to your experience at the Post Growth Institute as a fellow, I would love to hear that as well. But yeah, sharing your need or um, anything else you want to share verbally, Konkanko, just inviting you if you'd like.
Thank you for inviting me, Danny. So I'm an indigenous, I don't know what indigenous really mean, but For us, we call it natural wisdom. Like people have to be immersed initiated into natural wisdom as a human being. So, because of the genocide in Cameroon, it's been going on since 2016. I'm sure many people are not aware of. I find myself in this part of the country with the think tank of the Bafut Eco Village, which I founded first. I don't call it an intentional community, but a way of using permaculture and eco village design to improve local governance in the Kingdom of Bafut. So that being quite successful, many people already knew me in Europe as I was representing the Global Eco Village Network at the international headquarters in Finland. And so when post-growth looked at my work and said it looked like a post-capitalist model, can I become a fellow? I quickly said yes, because I was also interested in learning all these terminologies of what they call development, how they relate to local governance and indigenous wisdom of resilience. So with the help of the post-growth, I was able to structure a project that I call now the African Peace Village. M is one of us, and the African Peace Village, structured from post-growth, is not a needs and offer platform. It's a platform and a think tank to design courses that can help young people to shift to natural intelligence, maybe away from just artificial, to reconnect with themselves as it were, and the wisdom of elders, and the place of elders, and the place of refugees. And so cross-examining this with the concept of bioregioning, I was then asking to what region refugees who have been put out of their homes and are not recognized in any region, where do they belong? So this mission of transforming young people, the situation, as we can call it, into social innovation projects, brought a lot of researchers and social entrepreneurs on this platform. And it's just a space for co-creating, or let's say, having these difficult discussions. Maybe how do we do partnerships that can be a model of decolonizing the mindset? So there's much more I can say to this, but I think the important thing is that when we actually have genuine collaborations that are devoid of top-down, like the post-growth encouraged, then there's a new culture of mutual living, which is not just about profit making. So I would end there.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Konkanko. I'm sad that I have to leave because I would love to hear from the others, including you, Konkanko, more about the things that are happening. And this really speaks to what I was mentioning about needing the space, the 2 hour mark of like an offers and needs market. It's been done in shorter time spans, but in order to really do justice to really hearing everything that gets shared, and there's often quite a lot of richness and depth to what gets shared. I mean, and so for example, like before I go, and I have got about 5 more minutes, I'd love to just like read some highlights because like what I wanted to do is give you pass it all the way around and hear from everyone, which maybe y'all can have time for after I leave. But um, Michael left a beautiful comment about help seeking and help offering clusters became a movement in the business sector. growing past business competitive culture into local collaboration required some explicit agreements. And that's so to the point of so much of what I'm hungry to do is actually to continue learning and expanding into the space of like what comes after the offers and needs market. Because the thing that we've refined and practiced over many years now is the particular art of facilitating an offers and needs market. So for those 2 hours, how is the space held to be able to maximize participation and make people feel welcomed and help people feel connected to each other and to make best use of that limited time that we have to all come together. And then, but then what comes after, right? And so that's why I'm fascinated by this idea of like these, what BioFi is doing and what so many folks in this room are probably working on some level is like, how do we then have those structures that can hold those continued relationships of reciprocity um, within our bioregions and even between our bioregions, right? So, um, yeah, we have GIS and mapping support that Annie needs. Uh, Annie's also a photographer, so that's an offer. Um, David is looking for help putting 35 years worth of development of decolonization course into a podcast or some other form. Um, Muhammad Ali is looking for consciously connecting with bioregion on a deeper level, or offering that. Dave is looking to share stories, offering to share stories of his journey and doing small part towards helping to emerge the new world that was trying to be born. I'm sure there's so much affinity in this space. There's so much things that we share in common interests, right? So, and I could go on. There's more. The Turtle Island Bioregional Congress that's happening. Bill and I are going to get in touch. Um, Basma is looking for global South communities, regenerating Earth, looking for partners. Beautiful, like, and I want to connect with you all. Michael's shared needs there too. And because I have to go in 2 minutes, I'm gonna stop and just see if there's any like burning question from anyone about the offers and needs market or anything that you're feeling like really, really on your heart that you want to speak or ask before I need to leave. And then y'all can continue the conversation. But um, hopefully this isn't the last time that we see each other. Oh, and one more thing too. Just drop a Y in the chat if you're feeling really called to ask or share. I see your hand, Dave, but I wanted to just uplift this as well. Like this is an example of the offers and needs market being used for one of the other programs that we have at the Post Growth Institute. We have this alliance program where there's all of these organizations you see here and mapped across the world. So this is a cohort model of like being able to connect, and it's actually um, it started as a social media hacking, hack the algorithm kind of method. But the offers and needs bracket is something that we practice every year together as a cohort. That's one example of a way it can be used. And I think, was it Dave that had the hand up?
Yeah, thank you, Danny. Just something real quick. So now you gotta get, and this is a question maybe for a longer time, but something that came up to me is I wonder how offers and needs shows up or is more easily or not as easily adapted in different settings, different cultures, that sort of thing. For example, in the US, there's a lot of like individualism,
Yeah.
rugged individualism. I can do it all myself, that sort of thing. So just a
Such
thought.
a great question. Yeah, I mean, because um, this is why we have the community of practice that we have as well as like the place and culture based. So for facilitators to actually have a relationship with the particular needs, the particular, cultural realities of the folks that they're convening for an offers and needs market helps so much because it that adaptivity is there kind of inherently within the design of the offers and needs market, but then it's up to the facilitator to take that forward and to really bring their skill to be able to adapt it. So yeah, that's what we found is that the way that it's designed is it's possible to adapt, but it's necessary for that to get translated into practice by a facilitator who's probably gone through trial and error with that, right? So I'd love to continue speaking with you all. It's been really lovely to get to share to a group that feels very receptive, and there's a lot of potential there. So let's stay in touch and enjoy the rest of the conversation.
Thank you, Danny. I know you've got to go, and it's great to see some offers being some needs and then some offers reciprocating. So you've really shown
Yes.
it and proved it, and I think we're all excited to see where it goes next. And just frustrated it's only 45 minutes and not 2 hours. But anyway, take care and see you around.
Thanks. Yeah. Take care, everyone. Hope to see you again.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you. Bye. Take care.
Bye.
Beautiful. I think that's when we thought of the subject is the idea of the OANM. It's such a very simple practice, but yet I love the Danny facilitation skills are really amazing. But it just makes me feel good to know that people are there for each other and can answer needs, in such small groups. So imagine if it's in a larger group. So we were thinking, Marcus, do you want to pick up from there, and maybe Ali would share his short presentation on his bioregion, and then we can continue the offer and needs, and then Kokonko will come in. Is that okay?
Yes, but when we were planning, we just asked people if people need a 5-minute break, or should we just carry on? If you need a 5-minute break, raise your hand. If no one raises a hand, we'll just carry on. No hands? Okay.
Yeah, I think maybe we carry on, and maybe we'll finish earlier because we're a small group. So that's good. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to hand over to Muhammad Ali, and he's going to tell us about the Greater Nordics. So he and I are in the same city of Tampere in Finland, and we're in the same organization that he's presenting.
Yes, hi all. Good to see you from different parts of the world. Just sorting out my earphone cable. Now, okay. So, how much time do I have for my presentation?
Maybe 15 minutes?
15 and then questions. If you need it. Yeah.
Okay.
I gave you the sharing screen. Do you have the sharing screen, Ali? But also, I forgot to mention, is like when we look at your bioregion and then Conconco in Portugal, that's really this, what is it, 2,700 miles. It would take us 2 days to drive from the tip of the continent to the bottom of Western Europe. So it's really nice to have you together.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to share my screen now. Here we go. I think it should be on now. Okay. So yeah, so this is the title of my presentation. Project Aurora Hyperborealis. I don't know how to pronounce that in the right way because it's not really English. Anyway, it's about regenerating the Greater Nordics, which I will explain shortly. Yeah, actually, originally I was just going to talk about our upcoming event of weaving together this bioregion or biospiritual region, to be more precise. But then somehow it grew into this larger project of which this gathering will be a part. But let's see where it goes. So this name came from this mythical story of the Hyperborea or Hyperbora, which in the Greek legend was a land beyond the north wind. And we don't know exactly where it was or if it was real or what is the truth of it all, but and where it was situated. But anyway, there is this tale of a northern paradise, and some people even claim it was the first civilization on Earth, but I really don't know. Cannot say. I'm not an expert on this for sure. Anyway, I came to this question, started wondering, but are our Nordic countries a reborn Hyperborea or part of it? Because in the legends, they seem to refer to this area of the Nordic, not only Nordic countries, but even the whole Arctic range in the widest sense. So actually, I'm talking about the Greater Nordics as a bioregion or a biospiritual region. In Finnish, we call it Pohjola. Pohjola is like a land of the north or the Northland. And so we have this group of, let's say, sensitive people who are studying things from, if you say, from the higher consciousness level. And so we got inspired to get in touch with the spirit of Finland, first of all. And then there are also some meetings have been with the spirits of certain cities in Finland. And then we came up with the spirit of Pohjola or the Greater Nordics. And one of the foundational questions was, what are the actual people, the nations, or the countries which make up this region? Because in One Earth's website, this area is called the Ural Mountains and West Eurasian Taiga Forests, which is a very awkward and long name. And it's based, I suppose, on the natural formations and landscape and watersheds and these kinds of things. But we want to go deeper and actually ask the spirit of the land, what does he or she or it cover? So we found out that it's actually a kind of family or a tribe of 8 nations. So the usual 5 Nordic countries, which are Finland, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and Iceland, plus we have Estonia and the northwestern part of Russia here in this map. Also the Sami people, which are the indigenous people spread across Norway, Sweden, Finland, and a small part of Russia. So maybe this is our main offering from our group or community, the method of opening up to the higher awareness and then connecting with the spirit of the region of the land, asking questions, having conversation. They are deep listening. And so this is what is called in theory, or this presencing institute, I call it the presencing, being present and sensing what the future or the source or the spirit wants to communicate to us. Okay, let's go on. Oh, sorry, I accidentally pushed the link. Where were we? Oops. Oh yeah, these are many of the pictures in this slides set have links, but I will share the link to the slides after this. Oh, this is from Presencing Institute. The 4 levels of listening. Okay. So project design. If we think about this project, Aurora Hyperborealis. So the purpose is to unite the Greater Nordic nations in transforming the biospiritual region into a blooming paradise on earth, a brilliant lighthouse of guidance. And this is the purpose. So there is a process, and we would like to use either dragon dreaming or the theory model for this. But it's not clear yet which one would be the main structure. The team for this project will be, so this project is actually, it's not something that is already up and running. It's more like in the planning stages still. So there would be one representative from each of the 8 nations in the team. Yeah. And so the first step, well, this is according to Dragon Dream. So we have many objectives here, like returning to our roots, to remember our common origin, and envisioning what a bright future of the Greater Nordics region looks like, making peace, especially with the Russians, things like this. And then in the dreaming step, which is the first step in dragon dreaming, the other steps are planning, doing, and celebrating. The first step is dreaming. So how to do this? Take this first step. So I've been planning this garden of, I call it the Garden of Life, first regenerative gathering of Greater Nordics, which would be a 7-day tribal assembly in this December in Finland, with 3 regenerative leaders from each of the 8 nations, so 24 people in total. And the format would be an unconference, so it's not something, we don't have a pre-planned program, but we would actually build it on site. And silence and presencing would be important methods. Then there'll be many workshops, I think, encouraging peer sharing and learning. And then sociocracy would be something we would like to practice in decision making. And of course, we should document everything for the next steps in the project. Okay, there's one slide about our offers and needs. Actually, so these are the things which we're offering. So integration with Project Livestream, which is a regenerative participation initiative. And this process with 6 steps is actually representing that project. So the Garden of Life is here, Gathering of the Greater Nordics. And so it's supposed to be a kind of facilitated or guided process for people to participate in regenerating society and nature. This is the idea there. Another offer is we would like to unite and regenerate the Greater Nordics. So this is a kind of platform to do that for people who are living here in this area, regions. Then there's the concept of biospiritual region as a kind of deeper version of bioregion. And then consciousness tools for co-learning and co-creation. And what we need, we have several things, which is funding. We are sending out applications, requests for sponsorship. Then we're looking for committed participants and dream team for this, especially the December event. Also partner organizations for the project. Also, it's important to have feedback and co-creation for this whole thing. And also, we need to learn Theory U, which I have just started. Well, in spring, actually, but anyway. I feel really rookie in that. So, thank you. I think that is the main points I wanted to tell you. And here are my contact information, contact details. And okay, so maybe I'll stop sharing here and then I'll put the link in the chat, and I would love to have some discussion around this project and region.
Thank you, Ali. I really like the look of your presentation, and I like the fact that you mentioned a little bit that actually you were preparing something and then it just took a new life or a new energy. And it's great that David is raising his hands, because actually in the room there are a few of us who are Theory U practitioner for many years, and there's a new lab starting in a month that if you haven't joined, that you probably should join. So anyway, you're in a good spot. It was really good. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, so looking at the levels of listening, one thing I've always emphasized is the need to listen beyond what humans are saying. That we have to learn to listen from the point of view of a tree or an ant or a rock. And that I think one of our biggest challenges as humans is to get out of this idea of human supremacy and the concept of separability, that somehow in our feeble brains we think of ourselves as something separate from the rest of the planet. And so I think for me this is absolutely fundamental, because this idea of human supremacy, of even separability, the possibility of separation, of separateness, I think has infected our minds and is underlying the predicament that we're in. I just really, I can't stress that more.
Yes, thank you. I totally agree.
I'm going to say a few things. Obviously, I know a little bit about this being here, but I hadn't seen the presentation before. I think there's some interesting aspects where we talk about bioregionalism, and then we've had the biocultural concept or biocultural areas talked about, and now we're having a biospiritual aspect. So I think it's interesting to connect about these different ways that we're thinking bio something. It's now becoming a diversity of views and approaches, and I really like that because I think that shows a maturity that's arrived in thinking about it. That's one thing. And then the other thing I noticed is that we're not just thinking about Finland, it's not just the nation state, it's the Nordics. And then it's beyond the Nordics because it's also considering Russia. So here in Finland, we have quite a big division between Russia and not Russia in the way that society approaches it generally, not everybody, but generally, because Russia is made to be the great bear that's the enemy. But originally, Finland wanted to have the bear as its symbol, and it didn't pick it simply because Russia had it. So ironically, we actually have much more in common. And now, Mohammed and my organization, we have had some collaboration with people in Russia, but at the moment the border is closed, so we can do very little. But I hope that this kind of initiative will allow us to reach across that and think about the whole Palearctic all the way across to Japan. You've got connections with the indigenous people, you've got spiritual connections. I think this is something that can be applied in other areas. I know you're doing it in North America with Turtle Island. And the concept there is beyond, say, just one state or one group.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's perhaps what we'd like to see happening, leading towards this world level something. Do you want to add something, David?
Yeah, I was going to say, what are the contacts? I know you're looking eastward towards Russia, but also, between Greenland and the Canadian Arctic and Alaska, like there's this circumpolar collaboration in many ways, especially with, the melting of the Arctic ice. I know I'm familiar with the Inuit of northern Canada, but also Inuvialuit in the West. So there's all these, similar dialects. I don't know with the Sami if they're related. I know they're related culturally, but I don't know linguistically. There is even in northern Japan, there are cultural similarities to the Inuit from the Ainu of northern Japan and the Inuit of North America. So culturally and linguistically, there are similarities. So there may be a room for a pan-Arctic kind of bioregion.
Very interesting. Indeed. We should connect also more widely.
I mean, yes, but then it's practicalities of doing it.
Yeah.
To reach the people
true.
of the Inuit or the Ainu, I mean, I've presented with an ethnomusicologist in Japan who's worked with the Ainu, and I do have some friends in Greenland. I don't know any Inuit people, but then it becomes a case of just making lots of connections, and we also want to achieve something from it. So we're not saying no. If we've got some people who are enthusiastic from Greenland or from the Inuit or the Ainu that say they want to be involved, and we can do that practically, then that's great. But as Mohammed mentioned, there's an issue of funding. How do you practically connect with somebody who's in the Northwest Territories or Japan? Not impossible, but a challenge.
Yeah. I think there is some kind of deeper wisdom in keeping the region within certain limits, not to make it too broad. So it's still like it's practical to collaborate and feels like family. Also, but on the other hand, if the region can unite peoples from different cultures, I mean, like in the Nordic, Greater Nordics, we can create connections towards Russia, Estonia, just as an example, to like connect different cultures. It can really lead to some new possibilities, and even in the case, for example, of Russia, it can we can somehow maybe bridge the gap and create peace and yeah, end all this separation.
If it's Marcus, I love that, David and Mohammed and Marcus, because for me, when I discovered and spent more time thinking about bioregion, quickly something that felt so good to my heart came about was peacemaking, like a tool for peace. And so now that you're raising and using the word, maybe it's the first time I see it, biospirituality. You know, I was into biocultural and biospirituality. It just feels such a great opening for like understanding of everybody's culture everywhere around the world, because we our heart talking to different heart that matter. The past, maybe the waterhead matters more than the color of the past. So I think it's a huge, beautiful, healthy opening. So thank you for bringing that word. Anybody else?
I don't think we have anything more on this by the looks of it. Are we going to hear some more about the Peace Village? Was that your
Yeah,
thinking?
we're gonna move.
So, Emmanuelle, you want to take over about the Peace Village? What do you want to say about it?
It appears Emmanuelle is frozen.
I thought that her plan was to have a dialogue with herself and you about the Peace Village, but it's hard to do that if she's frozen.
She's been to the Nordics and back, so
Is it okay
somehow.
now?
It got very
Is it
cold.
okay?
Yes.
Is it okay now or no? No.
We can
No, we
hear
hear you
you
now.
well.
Hey, sorry about that. In New York City, internet is amazing this way. I'm sorry about that. But anyway, Konkonko, take it on, and I'll be with you, guiding you with a few questions. David is also part of our core team. The project is in Burgao, southwest of Portugal. I have a few images, very simple, that we can share with you. And I want to give it to you, Konkonko, to just tell us more in the next 10 or 15 minutes about what we are working on.
So I've heard the word peace, and the word listening to a tree, like what would the tree say? Maybe, I don't know if M has a picture of the baobab tree that has been planted in the Unity Garden as the first frame for how we envision peace. Like if we follow the African way where people sit, M is showing that this village of Bugao. Bugao means snail. And this piece of land, African persons sitting and listening and seeing birds that are also common in Africa, and thinking of this question of divisions and how a practice, a community of practice like Ubuntu, which is an economy of love of the people who do not have so much money in not only the global south, but especially Africa. So there are three words maybe that we may talk about. Africa, what is this Africa, and what is peace, when some people came with their rituals of maybe Christianity or their education and completely disempowered Ubuntu. And the fact that some refugees like us and some immigrants from different places have created this space for this kind of difficult dialogues between the West, Africa, the global South. We've experimented with this project in Africa before the eco-village which I founded was burned down in 2021 because of these ideas that do not fit the the idea of peace is liberal societies that are very trigger happy, that go around causing these genocides, and then do not remember that when the people have been displaced and are hanging around all over, they carry with them the indigenous wisdoms that made them resilient. So we registered an NGO in Portugal called called African Way, to ask this question: what is Africa in the context of modern way of transitioning? If anything good can come from there. And so these questions have been answered in many ways, because as M is saying, it's not only Africans trying to talk about Africa. We've listened to this space, this beautiful space where we are based, and sat under an olive tree, sat under an almond tree, sat under the fig tree, and listened. And the message is always the same, that for us to be human, we have to practice the being. To be a human being, when we separate the being from the human, then all we are left with is the artificial life that we have now, and then we are complaining. So the main question is how to connect since it's about sustainability, it's about fairer futures, it's about the climate, and we know Portugal you see the whole landscape is full of ruins, like the one you see in the picture. And how could refugees contribute to regenerate land, bring maybe wisdom of how we do for climate, or how we deal with fires. If this is kind of way of transcontextual, it's also maybe meet how regions, bioregions can also work together. It's across the boundaries of the regions. I started when I introduced myself about the place of a refugee who has no home, and to which bioregion have been uprooted from their regions, to which bioregion now do they belong? So these are all the questions that have been somehow discussed, not found questions. So if there were needs, there are some ideas that have been put together. Maybe Emmanuelle has the picture of Ida Maria somewhere, who is a plant scientist and have been working in universities in the north, now trying to connect communities. So I was very touched with the Nordic project, because not only did it mentioned the word peace, bridging peace, like we've been trying to do, but it also had been a cradle where in 2011, I was in Finland. That time I was in Helsinki when the EU was brainstorming about the following standards. And I heard that the standard of education in Finland is very high. And then 2 years ago, I was back there with the Nordic Summer University, which have started this idea of going beyond the university and thinking. And maybe there could be some connections with the cultural and with the beyond human. And I found very much my space also. So when Em mentioned about this kind of needs and offers space, I said maybe it's the thing we have been trying to do with the economy of love, that was a community of practice, which we brought here, and how that could be more powerful in enforcing, or I don't know, democratic principles by the gun, because it's been going on. I think somehow the West hasn't. So here is a kind of prototype of indigenous and the modern sitting side by side. And this is also where brought the idea of us creating this idea together. So maybe there are more questions, but I don't want to take all the space. But basically that the fairer futures to us mean that it is also community university partnerships within the bioregions, that is also intercultural, and it is also intergenerational.
Very good. Thank you so much. Kunkonko, when we were thinking of today and our work with you and Adi Maria in the African Peace Village, when we look at the needs, can you talk a little bit more practically? Like there was a picture of you, an idea in the office, and then the rain season and the cold is coming. So how APV, we call it APV, needs funding for a roof, for instance. Do you want to talk more about the practical aspect of the needs?
Well, one of the things we haven't been so good at is how we request funding in the course of co-creating and design, which takes time when you consider the administrative bottlenecks in dealing with land, why the land is all ruins here in Portugal, because it's quite difficult to do something about it. So we didn't spend so much time on how to get the support, such that we were caught by the storms of the winter last year that drove us from our camping. We were sleeping on a tent under very adverse conditions. So we went into the hills and found some into a place which had also been constructed with natural materials, and spent some time to learn how these things were done. So we have a very strong need of having a roof and having the space now for operating this project, because curiously enough, we haven't only registered an NGO, but the Portuguese were very quick to give us the Erasmus Plus hosting, and we've hosted already with, of course, the EU doesn't give so much money for this kind of projects. So it was not about the physical needs of how to start a space, because to have what I'm referring to now as a kind of partnership platform for this kind of bioregional collaboration with the Global South, because I describe myself as an honest broker uh, between trade and not aid, and between as a custodian of the culture of a kingdom that has remained so powerful despite colonization, that I carry some ingredients of local governance. As a consultant, I could offer some speaking arrangements, and also about hands-on doing things on the land using the language of nature, which I described so much in the beingness of the communication between a tree or a bird, or this is how indigenous people communicate, Emmanuelle. So the first need will actually be to have a roof over our heads who are doing the work, and the interns whom we already have, to kind of create the conditions for the partners who could sit with us under the baobab tree and listen to maybe what that baobab tree is saying.
Anybody has a question? Otherwise, I have something. I think that this year in our weaving, because what's nice about the practice and also the bioregional interweaving is how you do that to play a role, to grow a friendship, to learn a skill that maybe you don't know as much as for me. I'm more of an entrepreneur, so working with Konkonko, the indigenous elder, ID Maria, the ethnobotanist, it's really bringing me a new world that I was not used to it. And I'm really enjoying the learning journey with them. But I also think that in our weaving, like now this year, we were able to do a lot of, in a way, bio-spirituality, biocultural knowing and growing of the African Peace Village in some people's mind. And now the next maybe 6 months are going to be about building, like now the African Peace Village is joining bioregional weaving lab cohort. So we're hoping that it's going to give us more of a structure to get the missing element. And also the R3O and our community is great. Like we're looking at the bio hub model, how to build a hub or a center that can welcome people and youth and educate, but also a place where you can build your own economy and bring your livelihood without any shame, actually with excitement. So we're thinking of maybe courses and also online, but in person, permaculture the African way, and mindfulness retreat. So to mix like regenerative tourism and learning, an aspect of the village would be money making and sustaining, and another aspect working with the EU to grants and also welcoming youth from all around the world. And also ID Maria and Konkonko are thinking of the prototype as being a way to scale it around southern west or southern Europe. Because for instance, in the Iberian Peninsula, there are many abandoned farms, abandoned lands, abandoned villages entirely, and people left to move to the city. So how can the African Peace Village play a role in regenerating this aspect is what we're thinking. Anything else that you want to add, or anybody?
Bye, David. I'm just going to say very quickly before you go, thank you for coming. And in the chat, I posted about the agroforest DAO run by Diogo Porca in Brazil. That's worth you looking at for regenerating land. You can do it in Portuguese, Spanish, and English.
Mm.
Okay, everybody. Magda. Sorry that you missed the first hour, Magda. Magda is in Uruguay. She's a dear friend. She works with 100 different women regenerating the land and the country.
Emmanuelle, normally when we've had these
Yeah.
these trans-bioregional coordination calls, they've lasted for 90 minutes. We've now done 90 minutes.
Yeah,
do
I
we
think
carry
it was a small group, so I think we could go unless anybody else has a big question.
Oh, I'm just saying if we can go on if people would like to do that, but if people are leaving and want to go, then we can also do that.
Hello, can I jump in?
Hello, Michael.
I have been practicing listening, and of course, it's hard when one can be having all thoughts and reactions, whether or not what's most important is to simply receive the message, or then at what point to start. Well, what about? And whether the response should be at what level of granularity. And to give you an example in this conversation that we've been in, when the metaphor of what living metaphor is used to express this bioregion between Finland and Russia, the bear appealed to both. Interesting that eagles and bears and lions, are often the things that humans choose, or at least the humans at the top of the system, and that other living forms that may offer metaphors, that may offer ways of framing and understanding, whether it's the literacy of that, whether it's the symbology. It's like, how do we even talk about what it means to be coordinating in these spaces? And so I was fascinated to hear, for example, a growing claim is surfacing of who speaks and interprets on behalf of life, who's listening to life, and who is the interlocutor for life. As someone who's only a recent student of seeing a tree not as something that needs to be cut up, turned into a table, but there's a whole thing going on there. There's a whole different way of framing that a literacy of how to speak beyond human, if you will, and what does it mean to sense and interact and interengage is something that maybe trees know, maybe mycelial know, but there's this at what level is one participating in a dialogue here, and so to listen in a certain set of networks is super important, and a lot is happening without necessarily speaking back. But it's hard if the way in which we think things are emerging has to happen through a certain agenda formulation, concreteness, completion. And I don't know. Like I became aware that I was very much competent and adept at let's call it agendaing. I was trained in it, and I was, and so when I went to, for example, in this case, a Lakota 4-day thing, and they were trying to cohere forward into, it's like, how do they get anything done when it's going in circles and in stories? And, and the way I know to do this is I bring my bullets and I talk, and by the end of it, as stressful as it was for me, it was super clear that there was a different way of coherencing that I had to come to become curious about. And so I'm this is a provocative, I don't know the answer to my question, but it's a provocation about in coordinating, are we talking, are we talking about bears coordinating with bears? Are we talking mycelial networks? And how do we even co-monitor, if at all, that that things are unfolding towards beauty, towards whatever they should be unfolding, if anything. How to be in the space of these conversations. So I know I kind of went really, but I'm really struggling because in some ways the conversation about how to create an organization that receives money, that then is accountable for taxes, so that then has a whole thing. It then has a language. This is going to be done in English. It's going to be done in the following jurisdiction in the following way, versus life flowing between things, and how to be supporting these meta emergent things, and in whose vocabulary. So I know I didn't really. I don't know how that landed over there. I felt privileged to be here in the conversation, and that we are in fact participating in a kind of what I call Bohemian dialogue. But this question of who claims to speak for life, and what does it mean to be in that rapport, I think is one of the sacred questions that we really need to hold. And there are people, and I can tell you, I was just a few weeks ago talking to an AI person who was coming up with a protocol for the interface between AI and living systems. I was like, it's so, somebody will grab the space, will grab the attention, and all of a sudden everybody will be following. And how to hold the weirdness, the different metaphors, and the silence. So I know that was a whole thing.
No, that was beautiful, Michael. Thank you so much. We all had that question. Thank you for making it really clear. And I love the AI. I was with Pasha Mama yesterday, and again, it becomes ancient intelligence instead of ancestral intelligence. But Magdalena has something to share. Of course, then we have for the wisdom. Thank you, Magda.
You're muted, Magda. We can't hear you. Please unmute yourself.
Thank you. Sorry. We call it animal intelligence here, AI. May I answer a little bit of your question, Michael? I was lucky enough to have enough monetary resources to buy a piece of land which was devastated. And nature has spoken to me because I care for it. And I learned how to steward it by learning, being sensitive, listening, and studying. And in very few years, the land responded. And I can see the harmony and the happiness of my environment at all levels, micro level and terrestrial level, animals, etc. So, and it went quickly. That was fascinating to see. So I guess it depends on us, those who, the humans, trying to be beings like Mr. from Africa said. Sorry, I cannot read your name at the moment. And just being coherent with what we see and hear that nature tells us. And I was very touched by what you said, by not having the right to be in your land, and because I had to leave my country as well, but was lucky enough to come back and be able to stay with my community and my peers, and know what a cloud is telling me when it comes, or the wind that flows, what it means. Because when I was in foreign lands, I didn't know those signals that come with ancestral knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You see, Michael, that was a great question. And now to finish off, we can give the floor to our two panelists. Ali? and maybe Konkoko, if you want to go ahead. Thank you, Micah.
Yes, I would like to thank Michael for the excellent rumination. Actually, before this meeting, I was asking myself or the spirit, what is the most important thing, at least for me, to do in this meeting? And the answer was listening. So so listening it's really important. I myself I have a history of being a bad listener, but I'm really well consciously trying to improve myself in that respect, to become a really deep listener, as deep as possible. And so I think it may be a kind of a symptom of the current society that actually people are not really good at listening to others and themselves, listening to nature. We rely too much on thought processes, our beliefs, AI, and try to fill in the gaps, find answers before we're really ready for it. So I think this is one of the big challenges for humanity, to learn to listen and watch and see, sense what really wants to emerge, not just like take things through our ego, what our ego wants, but what life wants, to be in the service of life. Thank you.
Thank you, Ali. That's beautiful. It's like, I love this bioregional philosophy or wisdom. So, Michael, thank you for bringing that. But also, Konkoko, you probably want to come in on this. But also the idea, I mean, the U theory, of course, the co-sensing, the listening, open heart, will, and mind, that's very much so. But Konkoko talks a lot about spiritual forest, or the economy of love, or like I, as a Buddhist practitioner, I talk a lot about, and I feel it, the cherishing love for all living beings as a solution to a lot of the problems that we are trying to solve. Coco, would you like to take the last few minutes? Or
Well, I don't know if I think the word that there are many English words that I cannot translate from my native, our own words. We reason behind the words. And someone was saying how we can be very windy and try to be clear. So the question I was asking is not only for others, it's also asking myself if there is an African way of doing things. When I say like aid, the trade, not aid, or business, and not war. It's from the native way of upbringing that we were bringing young people to initiation to understand how to align with the spirit of the place, to understand. In fact, they said behavior is the human nature. Like there's been a separation when I come to learn in another language between the human and nature. That was my first embarrassment when we were taught to align and to listen, put our ear to the ground and listen to what Mother Earth is saying, to be able to be with all that is. That was then for me the business of love, truth, and equality. So at the time I started to see things differently, I wrote a little bit that article about the economy of love. So people want to gain a sense of community, and community, when it's separated, then we already leave out the members of the community from whom we can learn. Like the migratory birds, like they don't know the boundaries that we have created. How can we learn from the tree? The baobab tree I found here in Portugal was maybe the African baobab tree. What is the history? So I was looking to share that in this bioregioning, that we're trying to get come back to the whole, and most of the time it's disconnected with history, because we believe in ancestors, what is handed down as a practical way of acquired and the way of transformative or living, or how we can transform lives or land or whatever. So it's just for me to say, talking about this African Peace Village is the role of building or rebuilding right relations in a way that can catalyze systems. So maybe it's just my own thinking in the climate space that we cannot really achieve much without addressing this kind of collaboration or cooperation challenges. So still also in the learning process. That's why I believe that the processes have to be co-created, and they have to include our own personal development in building maybe new institutions or new organizations that fit ecosystem at community level. That community may include mycelium, maybe it's a complex way to kind of translate the reasoning from a local language into translated into the understanding of maybe a Western mindset. So this kind of project-based working together, that in all the spheres, sustainability, regenerative agriculture, but for me the basis is food, because the education that made us happy was because we were in the farm every day, seeing how what made us to grow, and what we love to enjoy sharing is the food, and we were taught to honor food. So that kind of cultural way of connecting regions would also maybe not just tourism's sake, but a kind of way of redesigning learning, or what we call education. So I've done a bit of courses designing, co-designing courses in permaculture, eco-village design, but I think what is also needed is integral design for the way that we design this bioregioning and with all the contexts that could come up. I'm not very sure I can make myself very clear, but This is what I can share, Em.
Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you, guys. Michael, do you want a short answer, and then we probably will close? What do you think, Marcus, or if anybody else? Go ahead.
I can remove my hand. I was going to both share how life develops language, an observation about that, and then reflect on what I heard. But I find that being managed for time feels colonial, and so I totally get that maybe I should just not show up the way I'm showing up.
Marcus is closing, so Marcus, you can make your.
Okay, I want to finish off with this kind of last word. So when we were asked to facilitate this session, we didn't have a theme, and I thought the theme awareness would be very good. And so we've brought in the offers and needs market. So we've got practical things, practical awareness that organizations and individuals can support each other. And then I'm very glad that we've now become aware of spirituality and philosophy. And last discussion has been really interesting to hear these perspectives, how we're limited by our colonial histories, by our humanity, by our experiences, and that we should be open to different modalities and different ways of approaching bioregionalism, biospiritualism, bioculturalism, and who knows what else. So I think that's really good to have that and to have that discussion. And I think it leaves us open for the next TransBIORegional coordination call. Now, I don't know who will be facilitating that. I don't know if anybody wants to step up to do it. But then
Marcus, sorry, we don't know if it's going to keep on because there was going to be 4 series. So this is number 4, and then after that, they're going to see they're going to see what the model becomes, if it becomes a network.
Yeah, absolutely. But what I was saying is that if there could be another call, there's the potential people that could be guest speakers or presenting, and we're open to people facilitating it if there's an interest. But my caution is people have got interest in lots of things, and there's lots of bioregional meetings and confluence meetings and organizational meetings, and you get a little bit Zoomitis or meetingitis, and there's just meeting after meeting after meeting, and then you can't take part in all of them meaningfully, and you can't bring it to be practical. So hopefully we can discuss that and see.
Marcus, it was really fun working with you and preparing it. And thank you for everybody. But also, I think the subject that we touched upon today, it is so big, as you said. And I'm so excited that the ONM, deal with the Congress and R3O really like Danny. So maybe this is something that will, appear at the Congress in September. So that's great for Post-Growth Institute. Thank you, Kokonko, for giving the idea. Could take a different life there. And also, I think in the interweaving, we need to really let our intuition guide us much more than we typically do in the Western world. For instance, when the 2 bioregions, the African Pacific and the Great Nordic, came about because there were the 2 of us volunteering to work to facilitate today. Now, when I look at the presentation, when I look at the map and I look at the 2 spirits, the spirits of Pojola in Finland and the spirit of the Nadi in Cameroon and now in Portugal. So the idea of the biospiritual energy leading the way is there. It's pure coincidence. I didn't know about the spirit of Pojola before I look at your slide, and I was like, that's so interesting. Did you see that, Konkonko? The 2 spirits meeting in the cosmos. Oh, you're muted.
Yes, and that's why I picked on the word spirit, because the concept is spirit of Ndanifo. In Ubuntu, everything has spirit. So when I saw that we can accommodate spirituality, for me, I think this is one of the groups where I feel like it's like emerging, because usually it is something that people don't really accommodate.
Thank you. Well, thank you. Hopefully that goes into the idea of twinning. So maybe Finland and Portugal can twin and go together. But thank you, everybody, for making the way today and for staying 2 hours with us. Thank you, Konkonko. Thank you, Ali. And we'll be in touch again. Thank you, Marcus.
Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you for your service.
It was wonderful.
A lot of fun. My heart is full. Thank you. Bye.